So you're looking to buy a new laptop, you happen to be a creator who loves to game, you come across the MSI P65 and you say, oh my god, this thing is absolutely beautiful, I want to buy it. But then you realize the specs are exactly the same and it's only $100 cheaper than the Razer Blade 15. And the Razer Blade 15 also happens to have a Mercury Edition, which also looks pretty slick. Which one do you actually buy? Well, first and foremost, when it comes to design, they both have a beautiful look. None of the logos light up. If you want a logo that lights up, you're gonna have to get the black version of the Razer Blade 15. However, the P65 is lighter, making it easier to fit in your bag. The Razer Blade 15 definitely has a smaller form factor and it also has better build quality. This is a thick piece of aluminum. It's just built like a tank and really reminiscent of the 2015 MacBook Pros. Now, when it comes to ports, they both have a very similar port setup. On the Razer Blade 15, you have an HDMI port, a mini display port, you also have a USB Type-C Thunderbolt 3 port and a Noble Lock. So exact same setup on the left side or the right side of the P65. On the other side, this is where things take a little bit of a turn. On both laptops, you have a USB 3.0 port and of course one audio jack on the Blade 15, but with the P65, you get an extra jack and an RJ45 connection. So if you need to be LAN'd in, you can do that on the P65 right away, whereas on the Blade 15, you're gonna have to go out and buy a dongle for it. The next interesting thing was the SSD speeds. Inside the Razer Blade 15, it is significantly faster than the P65, and both of them are using 512 gigabytes. However, you do get better battery life with the P65. There's an 82 watt-hour battery inside of here compared to the 80 watt-hour battery inside of the Blade 15. The display on the P65 is 1080p with 144 Hz. You can't upgrade it to a 4K display, whereas on the Blade 15, you get a very similar 1080p panel, but you have the option to buy a 4K version. Now listen, if you're a creator, someone like me who wants the best color accuracy, these 1080p displays are okay. You don't get 100% sRGB, but they're close enough that you can do your color correcting on. However, if you're a hardcore photographer and you're a super professional videographer, you at least have that 4K option with the Blade 15. I think if you're marketing the P65 as a creator's laptop first, you gotta have the 4K option because that 4K panel is significantly more color accurate. Sound is definitely better on the Blade 15, but it gets slightly louder on the P65. The Blade 15 has the speakers on top of the laptop or on top of the deck, whereas on the P65, they're on the bottom, and that causes the sound to be a little bit tinny. Keyboard, this is interesting. I like the design of the keyboard better on the Blade 15. I think it just looks absolutely awesome with its RGB coloring, and you can pretty much change it to any color you want. But the typing experience is better on the P65. The keys are bigger, there's less space between them, it just makes typing on it a lot more enjoyable. Touchpad, better on the Blade 15. You get a lot more space to move around your fingers. Both of these laptops are using Windows Precision drivers. It's not bad on the P65, it's fairly accurate, you just have a lot less space to work with. But you do get that fingerprint sensor with the P65, which is not available on the Blade 15. This means you can log into your laptop significantly faster without having to type in a password. Now let's talk about performance, and you need to know what you're getting yourself into. This one has a 1060 inside of here, but I do have a Razer Blade with a 1070. The P65 has a 1070 as well. They're both Max-Q GPUs, so lower TDP, therefore lower heat output, but they're very interesting on how they work. Both of these laptops can game comfortably at 1080p with high settings, even at QHD, and these GPUs will last you for another 2 to 3 years. But the way it handles heat is very interesting. So here's how it works. On the P65, it tends to thermal throttle a little bit more, with CPU temps hitting anywhere from 80 to 90 degrees Celsius. But you do get higher boost speeds, not significantly higher, but higher enough that you're gonna have slightly better FPS and slightly faster render times. The Blade 15, on the other hand, keeps the CPU significantly cooler. I'm talking about temperatures of 70 degrees Celsius, but you do get slightly lower boost speeds and it tends to power throttle a lot more. So you have to ask yourself, do you want the faster boost clock speeds to get slightly more frame rates, or do you want temperatures that will be lower, doesn't boost as high as often, but yet you get a CPU that lasts longer overall? Now, one more thing thing to add about heat is that surface temperatures on both of these devices are actually pretty good, 40 to 45 degrees Celsius, so I'm not too concerned there. Fan noise, they definitely kick in a lot on both laptops. A little bit more with the P65, but fan noise overall is pretty similar, so not one is significantly louder than the other. So here are my closing thoughts. With the MSI P65, you get a laptop that runs a little bit faster at the expense of a CPU that runs a little bit hotter. You can't buy with a 4K panel, which I think is important for a lot of creators, but you do save $100 and it's a little bit lighter, making it easier to carry around. The Blade 15, slightly slower, but you get a CPU that runs significantly cooler. It has better build quality, it has slightly better sound, and you have the option to buy with a 4K panel. None of these laptops have SD card slots. I think the P65 should, just because they're calling it the Creator's Edition. That's something creators want. So that wraps up my review of both of these laptops. Let me know if you prefer the P65 or the Blade 15 in the comments below. If you have any questions, you know what to do. Hit me up on Discord. I'd be happy to answer them there. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.